All right, we are back. Good to be back here with you guys. Mike, thank you for holding down the fort as the host last week and doing the interview with Scott. I'm sure you did a great job with that. So, yeah, good to be back with you guys. For our fantasy follow up segment today, we are going to be naming our fantasy all stars. And the way we're going to kind of look at it is we're not just going to pick like the best fantasy player at each position, but we're going to look at each position and kind of use a combination based on where they're currently at on the player rater, what their ADP was in the offseason, and kind of how much value they've given us based on where they were drafted. And also, if we think this, we'll just have more of an open discussion about whether we think their performance is going to continue. So let's start at the catcher position. Let's start with you, Mike. You started us off with, or you're going to start us off with someone that I loved in the offseason and am continuing to love having him on my teams. And I'll let you take the floor.
Yes, you did. And I will give you a shout out for that. I usually don't give you a shout out for anything, really.
Never.
But Hunter Goodman was a guy that you had really talked up a lot in the wintertime. And somebody that I really didn't know much about other than the power profile, but taking a deep dive into him over the wintertime he's definitely somebody that people should have been interested in, especially because he's got catcher and outfield eligibility. But all he's done this year so far is hit 280 with 17 home runs, 52 RBIs, and scored 45 runs. He's got a stolen base, but he's not there to steal bases. He's there to hit home runs. His ADP at the time when we were drafting was 318. Right now, he's got a 51.6% hard hit rate and 74 mile per hour bat speed. So he's really looking like he can keep it up. Now, the one thing that there is issue with here, as there is with a lot of power hitters, as we know, is the K percentage is higher than what you would like. It's almost 27%. And he does have some chase to his game. But the fact that he's hitting 280 after hitting 190 last year and his ADP was 318, boy, to get 17 home runs out of a guy at that ADP is really a win. And so Hunter Goodman is my nominee for All-Star at catcher based on those factors.
All right. Yeah. I mean, guy plays in Coors Field. I think another thing that really got me onto him later in the draft season too was the fact that he seemed to be playing more regularly at catcher. I think there was some question about what they were going to do with him this year. He played a little outfield. They had him at DH last year. It was kind of all over the place, but it seemed like in spring training, the Rockies were really committing to him at catcher. And yeah, I mean, he's playing. The playing time has actually fallen off a little bit. In the beginning of the year, he was playing pretty much every day at catcher or DH. He's missing days here and there, but I think there's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, there was some kind of lingering hamstring issue that he was dealing with.
Yeah, he was hurt for a bit. I think it was last week or something, and there was concern he might go on the IL, but then he didn't, and he hit 2 home runs in that game. So
right.
It was one of those things where it was a miraculous recovery. But yeah, no, I like him a lot too. The one thing that I noticed about him was that his BABIP is incredibly high this year. It's 341 BABIP compared to 199 last year, and he's still striking out about the same. So I wonder if we'll see something maybe in the middle of, where he is now and where he was last year. I still think he's a solid option right now, though. Absolutely an all-star.
Yep. One of the lone bright spots on this Rockies team.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Let's go to first base and pick an all-star there. Dave, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Yeah, for me, my first base all-star is none other than Jonathan Aranda.
Of course.
Another guy that you loved in the winter. So, Chris, I'll give you, Goodman. And Dave, I'm going to shout you out for Aranda. You were all over him in the wintertime.
I loved him then. I love him now. Thank you, Mike. And he's been so good this year. He started out as a platoon player, but he's really been an important part of this Rays lineup. He used to sit against left-handed pitchers, but really he's 313 against them right now. You can't really sit him. And he's got more power at home. More power on the road, but he's still better at home. So it's a nice mix there of power and batting average. And his StatCast page looks so beautiful right now with a lot of reds. So he's doing what he was supposed to do. And to me, what really makes him an all-star is that he was almost picked 400 around the end of March. So, I mean, you could have gotten him for free. And right now you're loving it. So he's my first base all-star right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you nailed that one. I do have to like bring it down a little bit. All right. Just
That's
looking
shocking.
at, yeah, you know, well, we know Dave is usually the one bringing us down, so I'm going to take a turn with that. Davey Downer over here. He does have a 4.11 BABIP. All right. Obviously, that's not sustainable. Last year he had a 264 BABIP, so league average is around 300. There's nothing in Aranda's profile that really suggests he's going to run a higher than average BABIP. So I think there will be some regression in that batting average, which sits right now at 327. But I still think like the quality of contact is really good. So I think the power will continue to be there, but don't be surprised if you see a fall off in the home run category with Aranda moving forward.
Absolutely.
All right, you're gonna take the infield for this segment. So give us your second base all-star.
All right, so for second base, I wanted to give props to you, Mike, because I believe you brought him up in the offseason. It was Jackson Holiday.
No, Chris won't give me credit for that. No, he's gonna take credit for that one.
No, I think it was like a joint thing, right?
It was.
We had Jake Rill on, and we both were fawning over. You and I were fawning over Jackson Holiday and him being ripped, and they had all those pictures of him in the off season. So I think that was it, right?
Okay.
Best shape of his life.
Best shape of his life. Hey, sometimes it works out.
Okay, so you guys were into him because of some good pictures
big muscles
in his physique. Got it. But
also a playing time opportunity, Dave. Come on now.
I know. No, I love what he's been doing this year, and it's pretty amazing how quickly like people forgot all about him. Like, this isn't fantasy football. Have some patience here. He didn't do it for 1 year. Oh well, buy low, which is what people should have done. And over the winter, he had an ADP over 200, and he's looked locked in this year, almost like a different player, like the player we all thought he'd be. He's crushing fastballs at a 293 clip. He's hitting breaking balls this year, which was really something he couldn't do last year. And he's on a 2020 pace. So there's a lot to love here. And both of you guys were spot on in the offseason.
Here's the biggest thing with Holiday right now that I think is the reason for a dramatic change in his valuation moving forward. He's batting leadoff, and he's playing against lefties. He's playing literally every day. And that was really the big thing. We didn't know, like, were the Orioles going to be patient if he got off to a slow start? Were they going to have him in a strict platoon most of the year? Were they even going to send him back to the minors for more seasoning? I mean, he is only 21 years old. I think we forget that, right? But they have shown confidence in him. He's batting top of the order every day. And I mean, he gives you that power speed combo. And I mean, this guy was the top prospect in baseball. So I don't think it should be a shock that he's figuring things out. And I think he's in for a big second half as well. All right, take us to shortstop, Dave.
All right, so for shortstop, this one's for you, Chris. This was your recommendation, and he's been an all-star. It's Otto Lopez. He was free in drafts, okay? But he actually did well in limited time last year when the Marlins were rebuilding. He's got a low K rate, a decent walk rate, and it's supported by a 294 XBA, which kind of shows he's been unlucky. He's a great defender. He'll play every day, and he's another guy on a 2020 pace. So for someone you got free late in drafts, this is the guy right here.
I'm going to quote myself here.
Oh, boy, here we go.
On January 25th of 2025, @Torres Takes tweeted, "When you reach 5+ rounds ahead of ADP on a player, it shows me that you probably don't have enough humility and or self-control. Unless it's Otto Lopez, then you're just brilliant.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Were you saying that after he hit 191 in April, or was that?
No, I dropped him everywhere.
Of course you did. Of course.
Listen,
You know what I love about you, Torres?
the takes are strong.
Yes,
but,
you have a strong take, and then we kind of, like typical New Yorker, we just kind of back away from it a little bit. Like we forget that it happened, and then somebody like me reminds you that he hit 191 in April, but you didn't admit to anybody that you dropped him, except David. No. Except Dave and I both knew that you dropped him.
Well, here's the thing. In fairness, I would have held on to him, but he got off to a slow start, and then he got injured.
Yes, he did.
And then it was like, well, I can't really hold, and I have no IL spot, so I can't hold a spot for Otto Lopez, So, but now I'm regretting that. So yeah, but that's my boy. So thanks for the shout out, Dave. Take us to third base.
All right. So for third base, I almost went with Miguel Garcia, and he probably would have been my vote, but we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. He's been doing great. So I just went with the most obvious choice. I went with Jose Ramirez because sometimes I think we think too hard about it, but the answer is right there in front of us. It's the shallowest position, and you're getting 5 category production. Mm-hmm. So I looked into it. He's provided 18.4 of the team's home runs this year, 35.2% of the team's stolen bases, and 15% of the team's hits. And even with his over 300 batting average, the team is still hitting 224.
Wow.
So for me, I loved him in drafts. He was in my top 3. I had him at 3rd overall. So instead of glossing over what he's been doing, whatever, if you guys were to redraft the first round right now, where would you take Jose Ramirez? Let's do rest of season.
For the second half here.
Yeah.
Where would I take him? I mean, he's a back half of the first round guy, right?
You'd still take him at the end?
I think so. I don't know. Okay. You know what it is, man? Like you mentioned the team context. And this is probably stupid because it hasn't mattered with Ramirez. I've had this concern for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. Like he just puts up numbers. And position, I think what you mentioned, Dave, is really important too. Like giving you 5 category production at third base, that I feel like gives you such an advantage. I'm just filibustering here. I'm thinking of my answer. Yeah, I mean, probably like 7 overall, 6 to 7. Really? Yeah.
Okay. No, he's top 5 for me.
Top 5. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you think about who the top 5 were kind of going into it, I mean, Gunner's been kind of a disappointment. Witt's a little bit of a disappointment, as weird as that is to say. Judge is Judge, Tucker.
I mean, Ohtani, since he started pitching, is a 200 hitter.
Don't even start with the Ohtani. He's gonna be fine because you know what? We've poked holes in Ohtani for 2 years now, right? Oh, this. Oh, he's coming off this injury. Whatever. He's superhuman. All right, accept that. It does not matter. All right. So if you were drafting today, you take an Ohtani 101. All right. If you don't, you're crazy.
I wouldn't have taken him in the offseason, though. I was one of the ones that pushed him down. But you know me, I'm paranoid.
You're freaking paranoid. Anyway, all right. So let's go through. You have Ohtani, Witt. You're taking, let's see, Ellie, Judge, Acuna. Like that's 5 right there. And then I think you look at Ramirez.
Yeah, but I don't think I would take Ellie or Acuna over Jose Ramirez based on position, just based on position scarcity. I don't know that I would.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But that's probably why I lose. But
yeah, I wouldn't. I think just the upside with those other, like Ramirez's upside is capped by that lineup, and I just think when you're talking to the other 2 guys with Acuna and Ellie, they're just monsters, man. Like they could give you the number 1 overall season. I don't think that's in the bag for Ramirez, but.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good point. That's a good point.
We're splitting hairs, and we've got plenty of time to have this discussion. But it's an interesting one for sure. Real quick, who is the third baseman who's ahead of Jose Ramirez on the player rater?
Great question.
It's like by 1 cent according to the dollar value here. So they're neck and neck.
Machado?
Nope.
That's a good guess. I don't know.
Eugenio Suarez. Oof. That's I mean, I get why you said Ramirez, but I mean, if we're looking at like the all-star, the third base position for fantasy specifically, I mean, Suarez was going past pick 150.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have any shares, which is in hindsight. I mean, you could always, hindsight is 2020, blah blah blah. But man, I mean,
dude's got 29 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just he's just continuing what he did in the second half last year. Actually, before even the second half of last year, there was a point where like it just clicked for him, and he just has not stopped.
I think he's third in home runs over the last full season or something like that. I saw a tweet today. It's Ohtani, Judge, and him.
Just wild, because I can remember last year when people were like, "Oh, they're going to DFA Suarez so they could play Jordan Lawler," and the dude is just like a switch flip for him, and he's been just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move to the outfield now, and we got to start with PCA, right? I mean, we're recording this on Thursday, another 2 home runs today. He's now at 25 home runs, 27 stolen bases with a 271 average. He is the number 4 player overall in Roto formats. I mean, the dude's just a maniac. What do you say about him? Nothing you could do. Like, if you have PCA, you're not trading him, right? So if you had the foresight to draft him, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you were on him, and I know I pinned you for that pick. Was it in Glarf or TGFBI? One of them.
It was in Glarf. It's my outfield is the only thing keeping me alive. Him and Riley Green.
No, that's a nice combo. But yeah, overall, I was looking rest of season at his projections. If you look at the Bad X and plug it into like a spreadsheet or auction calculator, he'd come out as the 20th overall player rest of season. This was a big miss for me, man. I got caught up with PCA looking too much into the plate discipline. And we know like the O swing percentage has always been a thing with him, right? Like he swings outside of the zone almost as much as anybody, at around 41%.
Yeah.
And I still have this bias, and it's silly. I got to get over it because I don't think it's really like that predictive of anything. I have this bias of guys with really poor plate discipline. We have to, I guess, accept that some players they can make it work, right? With their just pure athleticism. And the biggest thing with PCA, though, that I don't know if like anybody really could have forecast, like he would have made this change. This year, he is 14th in pulled air rate. That's been the biggest thing because he's not a huge like power guy, right? Like raw power, right?
No.
But this year, he's just made a complete approach change. 28.1% pulled air rate, which is, I mean, we didn't have this stat before, right? So it's nice that we could look at this. You could find that on StatCast. And that's a huge jump from last year when it was only at 19.3%. So like among hitters last year, he was like 100th in terms of pulled air rate. Now he's 14th overall. So, again, it's hard to really, you can't predict that all of a sudden he was going to make that change. But even still, looking at his preseason projection, you guys know I like to use this software that kind of ranks players based on their projection. And so I took a look at that from preseason, and it had him, if you did like a composite projection of all the big ones like Steamer, Bad X, he was the 90th overall rated player based on his projection. ADP, though, was around 130. So when you're looking at that big of a gap, that's a lesson for me, right? Because I just got too honed in on like my own analysis and didn't really zoom out and see, okay, well, like even if he just plays to his median projection, he's still coming out as a value. And the dude is young, right? And if he takes a step forward, if he makes an approach change, which he did, then this could be a league-winning pick, which he's become. So that's definitely a lesson for me.
Well, I just think to piggyback off what you're saying, that when I was looking at it, I thought, well, here's a guy that I'm taking as my fourth outfielder. I hope he hits 250. I think he can hit 15 home runs. I think he could actually steal 40 bases. So the power surge has been something that I don't know that anybody was really expecting.
Right.
But I don't think that you're totally wrong, though, in pointing out that, the swing and miss stuff and the chase is really a scary thing if they start to pitch him differently. He only hit 240 last month, and he was really struggling towards the end of the month. A lot of strikeouts. And it seemed like people were starting to get the better of him. I think what he is, though, is like what you're saying. Once a week, he seems to be good for a stat-filling game, and then he's cut some 0 for 4s, 0 for 3s. And not that I care, because look what we're getting. But there is some concern there. I think if you watch the games and you see him play, I figured he would play because of the speed and because of the glove, and I figured that was the way that he would always have an opportunity. But I never expected the season that he's putting up right now.
Yeah, I ended up like in that range. I always went Dylan Cruz over PCA, and that was silly because it's like, just from a diversification perspective, like you probably shouldn't just go all in, especially on a guy who really hadn't shown anything yet. I think Cruz would have been fine if he didn't get injured, but that just hasn't worked out. But all right, let's move on to our next outfielder here. And another guy who projections, if you looked at it preseason, was telling you this guy was a value based on where he was going. It was going around pick 240, and I'm talking about George Springer, who has just had an incredible resurgence, especially lately. I had no idea. Like, I started preparing for this podcast. I have George Springer, another guy I have nowhere. So I didn't really I knew he was doing good, but I know he killed the Yankees last week. But yeah, I mean, this surge that he's had has him up to the outfielder 13 overall on the Razzball player rater, which was just shocking to me. The raw numbers that we have: 16 home runs, 10 stolen bases, a 280 average, a nice balance profile of 52 runs, 53 RBIs. I mean, legit 5-category production from a guy going around pick 250. I don't know. With all of these, I like to sit back and okay, what did I miss here? And the projection thing is probably if they're telling me he was a value, probably should have gotten a share or two. But another thing that we couldn't foresee, this is a guy who, how old is he? He's 34, 35.
35.
He, out of nowhere, increased his bat speed. Which who would think at that age, you would just naturally expect that to decline. He's gone from 71.9 to 73.1. I mean, that's not a massive difference, but I think significant enough. So yeah, just a total miss for me. Do you guys have any Springer? Were you off him as well?
He was in a void for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I avoided him too. I thought that after last year, it was just father time coming to get him. But really, it's been unbelievable, the transformation that he's made. He went from last year to just looking so slow, but he's been healthy too. So that was the really tricky part for me, was trying to figure out, maybe he was injured, but no, he was relatively healthy, and he's been healthy this year. The only difference I see is that, again, with the BABIP, I mean, he had a 245 last year, but throughout his career, it's been 308 this year, 291 BABIP in 2023, 285, 2022. We're seeing him this year. It was more unlucky, I guess, last year. So yeah, it's a good call on this being an all-star, because he's been such a great value so far.
Yeah. Mike, let's try to get Mike Wilner on for the Blue Jays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I haven't contacted him in a while. That would be a great idea.
He's usually been pretty receptive to coming on, and I mean, he has his own podcast where he interviews all the players on the team. So I'd love to get his perspective to see if there's anything, any insight into what Springer's doing differently. So we'll get on that and see if we can get you a little bit more information there. Last outfielder to finish out with is Byron Buxton, and I feel like this was a slam dunk. This was a player going. Buxton was at around pick 215 this year. I think people had just kind of given up, right? That it's never going to happen. He's never going to stay healthy. He's broken. There was even some positive buzz around him in the offseason. It's like, all right, we've heard this before. Like, it just never, like, didn't the dude like go miss time because he like was like broke his tooth or something like crazy? It's always something crazy with him, right? What? Yeah, it was a steak or something, right? I'm not making that up.
Nope. That's what he did.
Literally, like you got hurt eating. So how are you going to play a full major league season? But the thing with him, man, so just to give you context, he's the 15th overall player on the player rater this season. Insane. He's got 20 home runs, 17 stolen bases, and a 270 batting average. Now, here's the thing. This, like with PCA, we couldn't foresee him all of a sudden becoming like a power monster. I didn't expect. Buxton obviously had the stolen bases earlier in his career, but if you looked at recent years, it looked like things were just kind of falling off in that category. Like he was kind of like a 5 to 10 stolen base guy who, you know, if everything clicked and he stayed healthy, could be like a 30 home run bat. But the 17 stolen bases in just the first half, I mean, that's just insane. And he's just providing unbelievable value. So here's the thing with him, man. Like, again, kind of going through this exercise of like, what did we miss if we did? I have one share of him that I'm thoroughly enjoying. But like, what could we take away from this? And just thinking about the ADP that he was at, like everybody knows how skilled, how naturally talented Byron Buxton is, right? It was never an issue of that, but everybody was scared off. Dave, I can almost guarantee I'll put any amount of money on it right now. You have no Byron Buxton.
Nowhere, not even close.
Yeah. Okay. Good thing, because I have no money to give you.
That's easy money,
Dave.
Yeah.
Easy money.
Yeah. So, but a guy like that, and I pulled up the 8 guys that he was going around in ADP to make this point. Like he was going next to Lourdes Gurriel, going next to Willie Castro. You know, it's close to a little later, Alec Burleson, you know, just looking at outfielders going in his range. Now, in a 15-teamer, it's one thing, right? Like if you're in a 15-team draft champions where, you know, you're holding that player the whole year, okay, Byron Buxton, like you could potentially be taking at 0, probably not worth the risk. But for the majority of fantasy players, if you're in like a 12-team league with, you know, waiver wire, all of that, there is no excuse to take a guy like a Lourdes Gurriel or a Willie Castro over Byron Buxton. And I love Willie, so no slight to my boy, but still, you know, like Byron Buxton, we knew there was that league winning upside. So in a 12-team league, you don't take the safe guy at past pick 200, right? So I think that's the lesson to learn from this. Just like, go for the upside later on. These other guys, like they're just probably, you know, past pick 200, there's a good chance you're not even going to have them on your roster at the halfway point of the year, you know? So use that on someone who has the skills that, you know, if it clicks, you know, it's going to be a major boon for you. All right. Take us to the mound, Mike. Finish us off. I gave you a starting pitcher and relief pitcher. So who do you got?
My starting pitcher this year is somebody that, boy, I don't know if you can say enough about what he's done for the Phillies, and that's Christopher Sanchez. If you've not watched him pitch, you really need to give yourself an opportunity to watch this guy throw, because he doesn't do it with, you know, high line velocity. What he really does is he throws a sinker about half the time, but his changeup is one of the most incredible pitches in baseball right now. If you've not seen him, go ahead and do yourself a favor and do that, because that changeup is one of the most ridiculous pitches I've seen in recent memory. He's got 7 wins right now. He's got 2 losses, 2.59 ERA, 1.13 WHIP, 116 strikeouts, and 107 innings. Last year, he threw 181 innings, and by comparison, only had 153 strikeouts. So he seems primed to surpass that as long as he stays healthy. He's got a 58.6% ground ball percentage, guys. So he's using the sinker to get the ground balls, and then his changeup. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'm going to tell you, his whiff percentage on the changeup this year is 46%. I mean, guy is just an absolute monster. He doesn't walk anybody. He's striking out a ton of guys. His last 3 starts, he's had 11 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, and then 8 strikeouts, and no walks. He has 1 walk in the month of July. He had 6 in the month of June, 4 of those in 1 game. So this guy has just become a monster on the mound for the Phillies. In fact, him and Wheeler together, if they get into the playoffs, good luck. You're going to have a really hard time beating either one of those guys. His ADP was 160. So there were some people that were kind of in on him, and 160 is not an absurd ADP there, but that changeup has become just unhittable this year. And it looks like a guy that he can continue that success just based on how he mixes in the sinker, which some people would call a 4-seamer, but it's more of a sinker. And then he's also throwing that slider. He's really got it going on right now. Definitely somebody that I think is a first-half all-star. The Phillies would not be where they are without him.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was someone I jumped. Like late March, he became like a major helium guy. And I think I probably got him at like pick 110. Like people, because the big thing with him was he had that increased velocity. And he's carried that over. Let me ask you, Dave, because you text us like every week. You have, I don't know if you still have him. Do you have Christopher Sanchez? Or did you finally get rid of him?
No. I still have him.
All right. So listen to me. Did you hear what Mike said about how good he is? Get that injury thing out of your head. I know he had the minor whatever. He missed like a start because of an injury earlier in the year. Just enjoy him, right? Don't trade him, because every week you're asking us who to trade him for. Just keep him. It's okay.
Okay, so Thursday, July 10th, 8:22. I'm making the call to keep him. However, can I quote you on this? If and when
he goes on the injured list?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, he's been a stud, man. Like, there's no reason. All these guys are ticking time bombs. That's you know what? I don't even want to go down that road because we'll have a whole nother discussion, but that's for another day. Finish this out, Mike, with the relief pitcher all-star that you chose.
This one pains me because as a human being, I don't like this human being, but he is an outstanding pitcher and is probably about to get traded. And that's Aroldis Chapman for the Red Sox. I mean, what a signing for the Red Sox, if you think about it. He's got 3 wins. He's got 15 saves. A 1.25 ERA, a 0.78 whip, and the knock against Chapman for years has been that, you're not going to get those great ratios. He's got 53 strikeouts and 36 innings pitched. His ADP was 281. Many people had made the mistake ahead of time of putting Liam Hendricks ahead of him in the bullpen pecking order there in Boston. I think it was pretty clear from the get-go in spring training that Hendricks was not going to be ready, nor did he have the velocity to be able to close games. Chapman still has got the incredible velocity. He's averaging 99.2 on his fastball still, 98th percentile in all of baseball. And it's not like he's 25. I mean, the guy is 37. He is still jacked. He's going to get traded. I think the Red Sox will move him. I will say this, if the Red Sox do move him, a guy that you might want to be thinking about adding if you haven't already is Jordan Hicks. I think that they're going to take a long look at him closing as well. They should. He's proven that he really can't be in the rotation. But going back to Chapman, I think he's been a remarkable story for them. I also had Carlos Estevez as kind of a 1B here just because of how good he's been this year and really was an afterthought. A lot of people thought it would be Urseg in that bullpen. Ursig has been great in the 8th inning role, but Estevez has just been racking up the saves in Kansas City. But I decided for the purposes of this exercise to go with Aroldis Chapman.
All right. Good stuff. All right. We are going to leave it there for our Fantasy All-Stars. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our Mental Health Minute. All right. We are back. So for this week's Mental Health Minute, we're going to be talking about diet and the gut-brain connection.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Strike one for me.
Yeah. Why?
I don't this, you know, we a few weeks ago when we talked about, we always talk about the mental health stuff, and Dave had talked about how he needed to do more work on learning about breathing and stuff of that nature. I think it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Gut health is something that I don't really pay much attention to, and it's really something that I do need to start paying attention to. I really have not done a very good job of looking at it, that mind and body kind of connection and that stuff. So I know that there's things that I should be doing differently. The problem is that I am a bit of a, what's the right way to say it? I'm sort of like a Taco Bell steak and shake junkie. And I'll eat that stuff and I will not think about what it's what it's going to do to me. Now, Chris, being my roommate in Arizona, you will know I spared you a lot of the gut issues that I normally have by eating a little bit more properly. And then when I had to use the bathroom, I did evacuate and go down to the lobby, in which case the people who were standing at the front desk knew exactly what I was doing when I had the sports page folded under my arm. There was not a lot of trickery in that regard, but it's definitely something that I need to study up the connection on, because I will, at lunchtime at school, I have a tendency to grab something very quickly and not really think about what I'm eating and put it into my body. And then I'll get home and sometimes I'll really not feel well or be really nauseous, maybe not eat a really good dinner because I just had like 6 White Castles or something for lunch, you know, like it's a habit that I got to get out of.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of research that's gone on, especially in the past few years, that is increasing our understanding of how what we eat impacts, you know, our brain health, right? And I don't want to make this like a science segment, right? But there's just generally there's, you know, the bacteria in our gut. There's a lot of serotonin produced in our gut, and serotonin is one of those chemicals, one of those neurotransmitters that is associated with well-being, right? And a lack of it can cause depression and anxiety. And so just understanding that, like, there is that connection, the literal connection to your gut, and you know how you're feeling overall. So just looking at a few studies here, there was a 2023 study. Lower gut microbiome diversity was significantly associated with more severe depressive symptoms in adults. So meaning that, like, if you just are eating the same crap every day, that is going to have an impact on your mental health. There was a study in 2024 that people who tested a Mediterranean diet intervention, they were people with moderate depression. And after doing this intervention, they showed reduced depressive symptoms, talked about the importance of getting fiber, and that helped like shift the microbiome and reduce inflammation. So yeah, just kind of having a basic awareness. Like you could do your own research, ask ChatGPT, like it could give you all the information. But I wanted to take this moment to just remind people out there, like, if you're not feeling great mentally, I think that's really like the first place that you should be looking. Is like, what are you putting into your body? You know, are there some adjustments that you can make there? And I think you'd be amazed at how much, if you are consistent with putting good things into your body, how that's going to improve your overall mood. You know, I see like people go on medications, antidepressants, and you know, those have a place, right? Those can be really effective, but that can really just be a band-aid if you're not making other changes in your life, right? If you are depressed or really anxious and you're on a medication, like it doesn't make sense to just continue to eat whatever 6 White Castles. I'll just use the example you brought up,
No,
Mike.
that's
like,
true. It's absolutely
you know,
right.
like you're just negating those effects. So it's really got to be kind of like a joint effort, you know, with if you're going to take medication, if you don't, you know, just like understanding how what you're putting into your body is affecting you. And I think in general, people overlook the connection between our mental and our physical health. I see that I'm in the medical field and working as a nurse. Like, I just see like people on the more medical side of things, you know, general doctors, or, you know, other specialists within like physical health. Like, they're just like, they don't even want to look at mental health. They don't want to talk about mental health. It's like this very like taboo thing, right? And it's like, well, wait a second, like the two are connected. Like you can't separate someone's mental health and physical health. They're one and the same. So I think that's just still something that our we're kind of missing in the medical field, like understanding how to join the two. I just want to check in with you, Dave. Any thoughts, any challenges that you face in this area, or anything that you're doing right, or something that you've tried in terms of your diet that you felt has been helpful in terms of your mental health?
For me, I'll admit I think I eat pretty healthy. I try and keep a balanced diet, and I try and avoid some of the snacks that years ago I just couldn't. And I just put an end to it. Like I could eat a bag of cookies like it was nothing. Like it was just right in there. But then one day I just decided I'm just gonna stop. And the hard part for me, especially with the sugar, because I do have a sweet tooth, the hard part at the beginning was just it's an addiction. Sugar is an addiction.
For sure.
And that first 2 weeks of not having those cookies and not having a pop was so hard. But I found after I got through that, I started to adjust. And just like anything else in life, after you get over that first hump, it's that you start adapting, your body gets used to it. And it's actually, for me now, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier than it used to be to eat healthy, because there are some pretty tasty, healthier alternatives that are out there, and some nice, decent recipes and stuff like that you can do. It's expensive to try and like a lot of these things. It's so.
But can I pause you right there? Because I kind of want to dispel this idea, though, that I think is out there.
Okay.
I know what you're saying, but I think people, when they are used to eating kind of crap food, fast food or just like processed crap, they rationalize it by saying, well, everything that, like, if I were to buy other food that's quote unquote healthier, it's just so expensive. And maybe that was true like 10, 15 years ago, but have you been to like McDonald's recently? Or
it's crazy. It's absolutely
crazy, dude. Like to get a full, like one of the combo meals, like I'm in New York, so it's even more expensive, but it's just like it's like $12, $13. Like think about, and honestly, like it doesn't even, I don't know, my taste buds have changed as I gotten older, I guess. Like it just doesn't even taste that good anymore. I'm like, why am I paying this much money for a meal that is making me feel like crap, doesn't even taste great, and is expensive?
Yeah, it's disgusting and bloating. Yes, for sure.
Right. I just want to bring that up because I think that is sometimes a misconception. Like if you went and actually like got fresh produce and really were thoughtful about preparing your meals, it would be cheaper than the other processed crap that you think is more convenient or think is cheaper. So
no, I was talking more about groceries though in general. I find if I'm trying to eat a little healthier in groceries wise, fast food for sure, it's gone up in restaurants everywhere. But I find like groceries, I can get a bag of chips for $1, but if I want, a healthier brand of crackers or something like that, it's pretty expensive to get like the almond flour, healthier style of food like that. So I do find it's still pretty expensive, but I do agree with you. Like fast food and restaurants everywhere, it's gone up, man.
Well, everything's expensive. It's $9 for a box of cereal now, for God's sake. I mean,
no, it's insane. But that's for another day. We'll talk about me. We'll do money management as a topic one day, because that's important for overall mental health, right?
And I got a $30,000 price tag coming from the University of Illinois here any day now.
Right. So you need that segment, Mike, for sure. All right. Well, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. If you do like the show, would very much appreciate if you can leave a review for the show wherever you get your podcasts. That would definitely help us out. Next week we will be back with another episode. Do we have anybody lined up, Mike? Or
no? I think we're gonna kind of go with just the three of us for next week. We had Scott on this week, and then following weeks I've got a couple of people lined up. Working on that. That's always a work in progress for us.
Yeah. Well, appreciate all the work that you put into that. It ain't easy. People. don't know if people know the amount of work that we have to put in to get people on the podcast. We'd love to have a beat writer every week, right? But it's just not feasible, especially during the season. There's all kinds of challenges with schedules and stuff. So you've been doing a bang up job with that. So thank you.
Thank you.
But we're gonna leave it there for Dave Funnel. For Mike Carter, I'm Chris Torres. Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Baseball Beat.